Today's story begins with the Chinese Qing Dynasty. In some photos or paintings showing the scenes of the Qing Dynasty, especially before the 1850s, there were some special firearms on the soldiers' hands, which we can see. It was very clear that they were kind of a matchlock firearm. Meanwhile, when we focus on the royal collections of the Qing Dynasty, we could find that there were many royal hunting muskets with the same matchlock mechanism from the soldiers' muskets, although they were more luxurious than the equipment of the Qing soldiers. Not only the royal gun, but also the soldier's gun. The basic mechanical principle was the same. The biggest point is the obvious trigger system, composed by a serpentine slow match holder and the firing trigger. In Chinese language, this system was called Ji. The serpentine holder was named Long Tou, and the trigger was named Gui. In Manchu language, there is a very visual name, which is Honkiloku, whose root of the word is honkin, which means the action of a people knocking his head to the floor. So Honkiloku, in Manchu language, could be identified as a thing that can do the human's knocking head action. By contrast, this Manchu name intuitively showed the working process and the sense how this kind of serpentine-lock ignited the gunpowder of the firearm. Then, at this time, if we keep our sight on the whole Asian continent, we can find that there were many similar matchlock muskets beside in the Qing Dynasty, especially this firearm collection in Beijing Palace Museum. To be honest, if I didn't see the introduction, I would think this is an India Tirada matchlock musket. Sometimes, if the arms look very similar, perhaps they have some close relationship. Even nowadays, we still can see this situation appearing in our world, just like the TD pistol and M1903, the AK guns and the Finnish RK-62. So by comparison, the firearms from hundreds of years ago could more possibly have a close relation if they were really alike. Firstly, let's come to Ottoman Empire in history. There was an army, its name was Janissary. They were the elite force in Ottoman, and their weapon also was the most powerful and advanced in the whole empire. Meanwhile, the soldiers of Janissary had many special rules. For example, they were not allowed to marry when they were serving in troops. It says that the gunpowder weapon appeared in their equipment options early in 1394, but we don't know if the weapon was just the hand cannon or the arquebus. Until the time, after 1465, the matchlock musket was really equipped in troops, and this type of matchlock musket might be the first generation of today's main character, the Asian serpentine-lock musket. By the way, that very famous book, Shen Qi Pu, in Chinese Ming Dynasty in 1598, also documented this musket, and it's a bit called Lu Mi Chong. With the Ottoman Empire's force becoming stronger, their neighborhood had to start to heighten their own military power in order to stop the invasion from Ottoman. Ismail I was the Shah of Iran in history, whose Safavid dynasty always stood on the battle line of fighting with the troops of the Ottoman in the 16th century. Like what we just mentioned previously, Ottoman's elite troops had equipped matchlock arquebuses during this time. So, if the Safavid dynasty wanted to avoid the invasion, they would have to obtain similar firepower. From the 16th century to the 17th century, the musketeers were increasing from dozens of musket soldiers to tens of thousands of musketeers, and even invented a kind of special silver gun, and they called it the Zamburak, which means little bee. Besides this kind of a little big firearm, naturally, their army had the normal sized musket. A fortunate point is that nowadays there are some ancient Iran matchlock guns survived from hundreds of years ago. When we see the muskets of ancient Iran, indeed, there is Ottoman musket style from its shape. So maybe because of the war, the weapon's designing style come to the other places along the battle line. When we search for the Inro matchlock, we can probably see some photos named the Indo-Persian matchlock. So then, the next firearm that came out into the story is the Indian Matchlock Musket. But in almost the whole of the 16th century, India was not the India of nowadays, but the Mughal Empire. From the name, we can find that the matchlock guns relationship between Persia and the Mughal Empire was close. Even could be identified as that they were in the same family. However, although their relationship was close, there was a point that we can't ignore. That was a stock design, and had two different types. The Iran Indo-Persian matchlock musket that we just see is one of the type of stock, sharply curved and narrow at the grip, expanding to some breadth at the butt. In history, this kind of musket also had the name Giselle. The most famous moment is the first showing in the Anglo-Afghan War in the 19th century, and then the second type is narrow, slightly sloped, and some with throughout, just like the collection in Beijing Palace Museum, and many paintings showing the scenes in ancient India history. In addition, besides this kind of special stock, according to some paintings, we even can see the bipop was added to the matchlock. If you are always studying the Chinese Qing Dynasty matchlock, I believe that you have remembered that famous gun, 叉子枪 fork gun, which was used aboard in Qing's troops, or even was a kind of a typical weapon in Tibet in Qing Dynasty era. From this point, probably we can even reasonably infer that the Mughal Empire matchlock musket indirectly may not have affected the matchlock design of the Qing Dynasty through Drinker Connect. Finally, while studying the history of the musket development in the Black Powder era, more and more I find that this is really an epic, even only one type of musket of the 16th century. Behind it could be the war, legend, or even a group of forgotten people in history. So, in the future videos, let's slowly fill up those lost stories to remember those legendary moments. Okay, this is today's video. Hope you liked this video. Have a good day. See ya next time. Bye.